If you've been thinking about personal finance, but you don't know where to start, here are 6 things you can do in the next couple of months to get some momentum and get yourself on the path to a worry-free life. I started RetireJapan because I wanted to help everyone living in Japan get better with money, learn more about their options, and get themselves sorted so that they didn't have to worry about money while they were getting on with building the kind of life they wanted. But if you haven't given much thought to money so far, it seems incredibly complicated and there are far too many things to worry about. So in this video, I want to give you the 6 specific things that you should do to get started over the next couple of months. Track your spending, make a budget, save an emergency fund, open a broker account, get necessary insurance, and put together a master spreadsheet that allows you to see your progress at a glance and make sure you're on track. So first up, track your spending. Most people have no idea what they spend their money on. And the best way to fix that is to track your spending for 2 or 3 months. Now, some people track their spending indefinitely. They do it every month, consistently, month in, month out, and they enjoy that process. I don't. I've only done this a couple of times as a kind of calibration exercise. So I've tracked my spending for 2 or 3 months, looked at the spending, what kind of categories I was spending money on, how much I was spending on those categories, and that helped me make decisions about what I wanted to spend money on in the future. I could spend less on things that were not important to me so that I could move that money either to investing or to saving or even to spend on things that were more important to me. So this isn't something you have to do forever, but I think it's worth doing for 2 or 3 months, just so you have a good idea of where your money goes every month. The reason we do it for 2 or 3 months is because you might have weird kind of one-off expenses that distort your spending if you only track 1 month. Now, there's a few ways you can do this. The easiest, the simplest, the most foolproof is to have a little notebook where you just write down everything you spend for the allotted period of time. There are also apps you can use that kind of automate the process. A couple of popular ones in Japan are Money Forward and Money Tree. I've been using Money Tree for a long time. I'm a big fan of it, but when I looked at Money Forward, it seemed very similar. So I don't think it really matters which app you choose as long as you use it consistently. Now, the benefit of the apps over the notebook is that the apps can be connected to your bank accounts, your credit cards, and then you can actually track your spending automatically, especially if you do a lot of your spending with credit cards or online or using PayPay and so on. Now, whichever way you choose to do this, you would want to track your spending for 2 or 3 months, make sure you catch as much as possible, write down every transaction, and then put that spending into categories. And then by looking at the categories and how much you're spending on it, you can see how you feel about that. Now, there are no correct and incorrect spending choices. It's all about a matter of priority. So what are you putting priority on? What do you feel gives you the most benefit for that amount of spending? And hopefully, once you see the numbers, you'll find things that you can cut easily that will allow you to free up some money for the next steps. Number 2 is make a budget. Now, some people are huge fans of budgeting. I don't really have a budget anymore, but I found it very useful at the beginning. So making a budget basically involves looking at how much money you have coming in, so that'll be your take-home pay every month, and then sorting it into categories that you spend money on. While tracking your spending is something you do afterwards, so after you've spent the money, budgeting is something you do beforehand. So you plan what you're going to do with the money and then hopefully you spend according to your budget. Now, the benefit of a budget is that it allows you to be more intentional with things, but some people do find it quite limiting. Again, like the tracking spending, this isn't something you have to do forever, but I think it's useful to do to begin with, especially if you're just starting to save and you're just starting to invest. If you really don't want to use a budget, and I understand because I don't, the best alternative to that is to pay yourself first, which means as soon as you get your salary or your income every month, you first take some money out and put it into a savings account, take some money out, put it into your investment accounts. Once you've done that, then you can spend the rest guilt-free. 3 is save up an emergency fund. Now, we talk a lot about emergency funds on this channel because they're so important. Most people need an emergency fund. A few people might not, but you are unlikely to be one of those people. So please make sure you have some kind of cash reserve that will help you deal with unexpected situations. For most people, an emergency fund is going to be maybe 3 to 6 months of living living expenses. And that means that you could live off that money for 3 to 6 months. You could pay your rent, you could buy food, you could pay your bills and so on. You might not be able to go out to restaurants or go shopping or go on holiday, but you will be able to survive on that money for a certain amount of time. For most people in Japan, the most common emergencies are having to suddenly fly to a different country, which can be very expensive. Some kind of medical problem where A, you can't work, and B, you incur medical expenses. Some kind of accident, maybe a car accident or similar, and that kind of thing. Having an emergency fund means that you can deal with these situations and not have to worry about the money because they're stressful enough as it is. But having to worry about where you're going to get the money from as well is just going to compound that stress and make it 10 times more stressful. Number 4, open a broker account. Now in Japan, if you are American, you should probably open an interactive broker's account. Please check the link in the description to the Retire Japan American information page. If you're not American, I recommend opening an account with one of the big online brokers in Japan. That would be Rakuten Securities, Monex Securities, SBI Securities, or Matsui Securities. Personally, I use Rakuten the most, but I also have a Monex account. My wife has an SBI account. They're very, very similar. So basically, whichever broker you choose is going to be fine as long as you choose one of the big online ones. When you open your account, you should also at the same time open an iDeCo account and open a NISA account. And these 2 accounts will allow you to invest tax-free. Particularly from January 2024, when the new NISA system starts, these are incredibly attractive options for people who want to invest in Japan because it basically means you can invest tax-free. 5, make sure you have necessary insurance. In Japan, necessary insurance is life insurance if you have a family, and generally you should be choosing term life insurance, not whole life insurance. We've got a separate video about that. If you drive, you need unlimited third-party cover because the risk is just too high of having an accident and having to pay for that yourself. If you ride a bicycle, you should get bicycle insurance. Bicycle insurance is compulsory in most of Japan now, and it's also incredibly cheap. And given the risk involved of having an accident and hurting someone or being hurt yourself, it's a no-brainer to get bicycle insurance. If you travel abroad, you should have travel insurance, either a specialized policy or sometimes you can get cover through your credit cards. Medical insurance in Japan is not necessary. It can be nice sometimes, but I don't see it as a necessary insurance. If you'd feel better having it, then go ahead and get a cheap policy. But if you don't feel you need it, it's not necessary. 6, put together a simple spreadsheet that shows you all your financial information. You can do this in Excel, you can do it in Google Sheets, any kind of spreadsheet program. But the key thing is to make it simple and to update it regularly. My version of this has my bank accounts, my broker accounts, my mortgage balance. If you have other debt, you could also put that on there. But the key thing here is to have a simple set of numbers that you can look at regularly and see your progress. And by seeing the progress, you're going to be more likely to take action towards that. I find it incredible to look back 5 years, 10 years and see what our financial situation was like then compared to what it's like now. Incredibly motivating, and it's a great way to push yourself to take action. So how are you doing? Have you already done all 6 of these things? If not, I recommend doing them. They don't take all that much time. You just have to put a little bit of time aside each week to get started. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.